What if God was one of us and just a slub like one of us? And just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way or her way home. Nobody calling on the phone except that Pope in Rome. Dun, 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 dun. What if God was one of us? Thing with Facebook, is I can't actually play real music because they shut it down. So I have to sing my own song or play the StreamYard music, which isn't terrible, but not great. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting edition of Tuesday Night Live, this time on Wednesday. How you doing, Sue? Feel free to say what's up. I'm coming at you live from both Instagram and Facebook Live. I have two cameras in two different places. I'm going to try to link them up a little bit more so I'm not looking back and forth like a crazy person. Although, the reality is I might look like a crazy person regardless. Well, sometimes. How's everybody doing tonight? Happy day after Halloween. I hope you all had a really great holiday. This is our chance, our weekly chance to hang out together, for me to give a little talk, answer some questions, and for us to do a guided meditation. My meditations usually have a healing quality to them. I like to combine those things. Over the years, I kind of realized that my path, although it was the path as a monk, as a spiritual guy, I feel that healing was actually a really important part of that. Just my Instagram cam. And, meditation is actually healing of the mind. That's even another way one could talk about it. Good water. So, say what's up, everybody. Give me some highs, hellos, thumbs ups. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know who's watching. And most importantly, let me know about anything you would like to hear about this evening. Anything you want me to talk about, anything you're working on. I'm really interested to see where people are at today. I have a lot of thoughts. There's a lot going on. I myself, actually, believe it or not, found myself in the hospital a week ago today. Exactly a week ago today. That I was feeling this pressure in my chest, and I went to urgent care, and then they said, "Oh, you shouldn't mess around with that." So they called an ambulance, and I was riding in the back of an ambulance to the emergency room in the hospital, where as someone who potentially was having a heart attack, sat for 7 hours, and eventually they said, "You're fine." I think there's a lot going on in the world right now. Seems like a lot of people are having similar issues going on. A lot of people are feeling things. So this is an opportunity to do a little healing around those things that we're feeling. I feel like I have so much to say. I have so much to say about what's going on in the world and the way to have right relationship to it. And also, I'm always wondering if calling things in is perpetuating it, right? Maybe by talking about things and bringing it up again and again is feeding that fire unnecessarily. What I found a lot of solace in is that I listened to some Thich Nhat Hanh last night. For Halloween, I set up out in front of my house, and we had like a little tea area, and I wore my monk robe and my monk hat. I played some Thich Nhat Hanh, and it was really beautiful to reconnect to his voice, to his teachings, to remember, what Thich Nhat Hanh says about the path of peace. This man, this monk, the man, the monk, the legend, Thich Nhat Hanh, who really did the work. He really came from a place of a war-torn society in Vietnam and practiced peace within himself and then in the world. And what I love about Thich Nhat Hanh is that he taught in a very sustainable way, that he created peace within himself first. He did walking meditation everywhere he went. He ate his meals slowly and silently. He did everything in a way that he was resourcing and sourcing energy and sourcing an energy of peace, vibration of peace. So he could share it. He could share it with the world. And people like myself living in LA, doing the thing. I do my best, but I'm still in LA. I'm still living my life. I'm still hanging out. I'm partying. I'm still, watching stuff on Netflix and doing the thing. And I see that as someone who's teaching and leading and healing and giving and giving and giving, that sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it leads to burnout. Sometimes it leads to breakdown. Sometimes it's not sustainable. Sometimes we really have to fill our own cup first. We have to fill our own cup fully before we can give to others. And if we're not filling our own cup in a sustainable way, then we're eventually going to be giving from an empty cup and feeling depleted. So something that Thich Nhat Hanh was saying is that the way to create peace is to start within your own body, start within your own nervous system, to really feel your own feelings first, to see where your body is, and through mindful breathing, mindful sitting, mindful walking, mindful eating, mindful listening to yourself, and listening to others. We'll talk about that practice in a minute. That'll be helpful after. But by really taking that time to sit with ourselves, to sit with our nervous system, to feel our feelings, to create that balance and that harmony within ourselves firstly, we are then holding a vibration that as others interact with us and we're holding that, it kind of starts almost like bringing them into the fold of that vibration, right? That vibration almost starts expanding as more and more people in our field start connecting with it. And we actually really start holding this vibration down for others, right? That it becomes like a bigger thing. So one thing that I'm seeing a lot of in the world at the moment is there's obviously a lot going on, but the reactions to that are either people feeling overwhelmed in their own nervous systems, people lashing out at each other, or people trying to shut down and get away from it. And I'm not seeing a lot of people taking the approach of actually feeling their own feelings, feeling the sadness, feeling the grief, feeling the overwhelm, feeling the helplessness, feeling the rage, feeling, crying, screaming, letting those feelings do their thing, move through. Getting clear about those feelings and then see how we want to relate to the situations. How do we want to respond? What do we want to do right from that place where we've actually already processed our feelings? Otherwise, I'm seeing a lot of people that are just reactionary, just pushing their pain out to other people, just really creating an endless cycle of pain, creating pain. And not enough of us are actually taking the moment to be with ourselves first, to really be with our own nervous systems first. Something that Thich Nhat Hanh said, which I found fascinating yesterday, is he said, as we're practicing our meditation, as we're breathing, as we breathe in, imagine that your energy is coming into yourself, that really as you breathe in and out, focusing on the in-breath actually continues to bring the mind inwards. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing, is that we can actually pay attention more to the in-breath and the out-breath if we want to bring our energy in, back towards ourselves. And also really just being responsible for ourselves, right? Taking this full accountability for our nervous system. If we are feeling jacked up, if we're tight, if we're overwhelmed, if we're feeling a thing, to fucking own that. We have to just go take a shower, whatever it is, go stretch, go roll around on the ground, cry, journal, go on a walk, do whatever you need to do to work with your own nervous system first. And this is just, a lifelong task. that we are tasked with, right? It is endless. There's not like an end point to that. We have to learn those tools and work with ourselves so that we can live in a state of responsiveness to the world. You see that? Looks like an orb just went by me. I'm gonna watch that in the replay. We have to learn to be responsive instead of being reactive, or else we're gonna just keep perpetuating the pain, perpetuating the trauma, perpetuating the same shit that's hurting us. We're just gonna pass it on. So, learning the tools that are going to work, and I'll share some of those tools this evening. And I'm sure all of you by now have your own collection of tools. I'm sure if I asked you to open up your own toolbox. In fact, yeah, Robin saw that orb. In fact, write in the comments. Let me know one of your tools. What's like one tool that, like, when you're feeling overwhelmed and there's like a lot going on, when you're feeling like I'm fucking in it, what's one of the tools? What's one of your go-to tools? Yeah. So I want to hear a couple of these tools. I want you guys to like think about that for a second and let me know what works for you. And this is how it works, right? We're a community, we're sharing, we get this thing going together. That being said, one of the most important things is that acknowledgement, that recognition that like something's going on. I need to feel myself. I need to work on myself. I need to be with me. Something that I realized when I was in the monastery is that we talk about like our inner child. The inner child is the body. The inner child is the nervous system. Ooh, so this cold plunge. Praying with fire. Beautiful. Look at that. So I had someone on Facebook say it was water. Someone on Instagram said it was fire. Yeah. So elements. Connecting with the element. Connecting with the earth, right? Walking barefoot. Even like doing yoga. It's very earthy. It's connecting to the body, the elements of earth. Connecting to fire. Letting ourselves pray, connect with the fire, see how fire moves and burns and warms and lights, right? There's a reason why people used to sit around the fire every night, besides the fact that it provided light and, helped them cook. But it also is a place where you can process things. You can really sit, and the energy of the fire, it's moving. It allows energy to move. There's a reason why we use fire for ceremonies as well. Cold plunge, water, right? Even if it's just splashing your face with water, it's a huge state change immediately. Taking a shower and playing with the hot, cold temperature. Also, a little trick, when you're taking a shower, you can grab onto the shower head. The head of your shower is electrically grounded. So if you grab onto your shower head, it actually helps ground you electrically, energetically, sometimes even emotionally. So if you're ever really going through it, you can actually grab onto your shower head. And grabbing onto your shower head, actually you'll feel something start to kind of go down. It's cool. Start to relax within you. Air, another one. What would that look like? Breathing. Connecting to air, connecting to wind, connecting to movement, looking into the sky. So, what we get to do is start to find tools to heal ourselves, to work on our own nervous systems, to become the vibration. If we want peace in the world, we have to become the vibration of peace, right? We have this thing where we're constantly looking to the outside to do it. We're constantly trying to get others to do it. We're constantly hoping and waiting for the world to do it, right? When will the world be at peace? When will there be peace in the Middle East? When will my family stop fighting? When can I have peace in the workplace, right? When will LA be at peace, right? We're constantly looking for peace on the outside. We're waiting for the outside to figure things out. What if, not to be pessimistic, but what if that'll never happen in our lifetimes? What if in our lifetimes there will forever be difficulties, there will forever be conflicts, there will forever be suffering, there will forever be situations? What if for the rest of our lives there will be the next thing, right? What if we are never actually going to get it from the outside? If, and here's a question for you, if it was never going to come from the outside, if it was never going to come from the outside, how would you give it to yourself? Yeah. So this is a really important question. If for the rest of this lifetime it never happens from the outside, how can I give myself that peace? How can I start creating that peace? How can I be a bastion for peace within myself in a way that I fill myself, that I can drink from my own cup, and that also I can pass this peace on to others, right? How can I be that thing for myself and others? How can I become less dependent on the outside to give me the thing? And trust me, it's something that I'm still working on myself, but I feel that I'm at least a step closer in terms of I'm realizing that it's based in my own nervous system. That's the most important part, is I'm seeing that it's my own nervous system. That if my own nervous system is really kind of doing a thing, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, he's like, that's your inner child. You need to go and you need to take care of that. If you're doing a thing out here, as much as possible, you need to say, hey, I need a moment, pull yourself back and take a moment to be with yourself. Take a moment to feel. If you can't escape the situation, sometimes you have to say it out loud, right? I'm actually feeling really overwhelmed right now, right? To communicate our feelings. Sometimes that's not appropriate in a professional setting or different things. So finding these tools, finding ways that we can take care of our inner child, which is our nervous system. I'll take this all a step further also. So if the inner child is our nervous system, it's our body and our body's reactions. Our inner parent is actually our thoughts. The way that you think is actually your inner parent. So if I'm saying in my head, oh, you fucked up, oh, you're worthless, oh my God, you screwed up again, oh, you did this thing right. As I'm thinking those thoughts, I'll notice that my nervous system is contracting along with those thoughts, right? I had this realization one day in meditation when I was in the monastery, that we are all walking around as these like self-contained reality generating, perception generating bubbles, that our thoughts are spinning and they're creating these feelings, and then our feelings are relating to these thoughts, and we're in these like reality bubbles that we're generating ourselves with our thoughts, and then our feelings are like listening along, and oh my God, and we have scary thoughts, and then our feelings are scared, and then we're, and it's this kind of play back and forth that, our mind is telling us these stories, and then the body's reacting to it. And then when we interact with the world, it's like, then that's what we're spreading, and then we are creating that. So it's like, unfortunately, we, or maybe not unfortunately, better or worse, depending, but we create our realities in such a visceral way, in a real way, that we do create our realities through our thoughts and feelings, through our perceptions, through our beliefs, through our narratives, the way that we relate to the world, the way that our energy is. We do create our surroundings. We vibe with our surroundings, and we often call in the results. If you're living in a fearful, worried, whatever, scared, lack place, as it were, that's what you're going to be calling in. You're going to be looking at things. You're going to be, creating contraction in other people's bodies that interact with you because you're suspicious of them, so they feel disconnected, right? Whereas I know people that, like, they walk around, they're just happy and they're carefree and they're loving, and people just kind of light up around them and they love them and they often get their way and they're like successful, and sometimes it's like, well, chicken or the egg, right? Do we become successful and then we become happy and loving and giving, or do people actually first open up and start flowing that energy out, and then suddenly people like them, they want to be around them, things start getting attracted to them? What if it's an emotional state first, right? What if manifestation, it's the reverse thing, right? It's that it's actually first you feel like you have the thing, and then afterwards, then the things can start coming because you're now available for that, right? So the mind, the thoughts, right, is the inner parent, the feelings are the inner child. So what we do, all of us, this is a thing. So here's some free therapy for all of you. Let's say that, like, I'm the child. So I'm 5-year-old Seth. See if I made that noise when I was 5. So if my parent comes, right, and they're like, I don't know what, I spilled something, right? And they come in the room and they're like, hey, you spilled the thing, blah, 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 right? Then I kind of contract. I'm afraid. I feel sad. I feel unloved. I feel not worthy. I'm being messaged that if I spill something, right, if I screw up, then I am no more deemed worthy of love and respect, right? If I screw up, if I do something wrong, then the world is allowed to be angry at me. The world is allowed to punish me. The world is allowed to disrespect me, right? That's the messaging I'm getting as a kid. So moving forward in my life, now my brain is like, all right, bro, don't fuck up again. If you fuck up, you're going to be unloved again, right? You're not lovable as you are. There is something you can do to no longer be lovable. Don't screw it up. So now I've internalized that external belief from my mom or whoever, my dad. I love my mom, by the way. And she she was just here in LA. So this is not a parent thing. It's not personal. It's for everybody. But yeah, so when we kind of take on those beliefs, right? We take on those beliefs that, like, if I screw up, then suddenly I'm not lovable, then I'm worthy of getting yelled at, that I'm worthy of, I deserve, right, to be hurt, as it were. We're going to walk around and our brain's going to constantly be saying, don't screw up, don't screw up, don't screw up. And now we've internalized that belief in our head, right? So this is almost our inner parent that's now saying to our inner child, don't screw up, right? If you screw up, you deserve to be yelled at. And if you screw up, your brain's gonna be like, oh man, you screwed up. You're gonna, that it's now telling your nervous system again and again and again that that situation that happened with your parent, is real. And that's how the universe works. And that's the truth. And if you do that thing, you are no longer worthy of love. You're no longer worthy of respect. You're no longer valuable. Right. So we start taking that on, and our inner child, our nervous system continuously is now responding. We're living in that state of fear, and the brain is propagating that. It keeps going and going and going. Is this making sense? Give me a thumbs up or a yes or whatever. Right. So as we're doing this thing, we're now creating this self-contained reality bubble, right? Where our thoughts are going. Our thoughts are going, and then our feelings are reacting to those thoughts, and our body is reacting to that. Right. And it's this crazy thing where, if there's a lot going on in the world, and I've noticed that too, if I'm like looking at my phone or something, it's kind of similar to my brain in terms of like I'm giving whatever is on Instagram direct access to my nervous system. That I'm looking at Instagram and I'm immediately feeling what's happening. Right. That phone is bypassing my brain, whatever. I'm sure if I was a brain person, I'd be like my cortex, my thalamus, right? That it just goes right into the limbic system, goes right in, and I just start reacting to the phone directly. Right. And whatever is on that phone, now I'm reacting to and I'm feeling. If there's war, my body feels war. Right. If there's a music video, my body feels music video. That whatever's happening, I'm just tapped in the IV into my vein. I'm just receiving whatever's going on. Right. So Thich Nhat Hanh, so in Plum Village and stuff, right, they also talk about mindful consumption, which is being aware of what it is we're consuming, what we're taking into our system, because you could be doing a stellar job of keeping all of your own affairs in order, your internal emotions, your beliefs, your thoughts. You could be in a great place. But now, you suddenly open up an app, you suddenly start talking to someone who's like plugged into the news, and they're just going to start dumping all the stuff on you. And suddenly your nervous system's going to be all freaking out, and it's not even, it has nothing to do with you. It wasn't your stuff to begin with. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of the news that we get these days also is orchestrated, right? It is made to create a rise in you. It is made to get you riled up, to make you want more news, to crave it more, right? Like there is this thing where unfortunately, we are as a populace used, right? We are used emotionally. Our feelings are used against us. So that we can stay connected and we can stay as consumers and we stay like, wanting the thing and watching, continue to watch. Right. So it's actually in the best interest of the powers that be that we are kind of like afraid and that we are upset and that we are kind of like wanting to know what the next thing is. So the world is kind of geared right now towards socially, towards our nervous systems being really fucking hyperactive, really inflamed, really stimulated, right? And it's unfortunate because it's almost like going against the stream. It's like you're swimming upstream. If you want to relax, if you want to have like a calm nervous system, if you want to chill out, you have to like shut a lot of things out of your life. Because the smartest minds in the world with the most amount of money in the world are thinking of ways to keep you scrolling on the thing, to keep you interacted with their narratives, their stories, right? What's going on out there. And one thing that I noticed through traveling, I've been to 30 something countries, and people are almost by and large all good people. There's, of course, in every town I go to, like one street, it's like I wouldn't want to be there alone at night. Right. But otherwise, like things are generally pretty good. People are generally loving. And when people are fighting, it's because like they're hurting because they both feel wronged. Everyone feels wronged. You see this even in your own relationships. You see this in yourself. Anytime you're angry, you feel like there's like something happening. Question: what is your opinion on not bypassing what's happening and protecting our energy? That's a great question. What do you guys think? Yeah. So what does it mean to bypass and what does it mean to protect your energy? That could be a hard one to kind of figure out. I think that feeling our feelings, right? I know what's going on in the world right now. Like, let's take the Middle East for like, I know what's going on. I don't know exactly what's going on, but like from what I've seen, right? I have some idea of what's going on, and I feel that, and I feel the grief, and I feel the rage, and I feel the frustration, and I'm, I'm kind of speechless, right? And I feel it, and I really feel it, and I feel it, and I feel it, and I feel it, and then I say, okay, cool. Now what? Now am I gonna like stay on that? Am I now gonna be angry at other people? Am I now gonna like, or is it like, okay, I'm feeling all that. And what is it all coming down to? For me, it's a feeling of sadness at the lack of humanity, the lack of love, the lack of people just seeing each other and loving each other, right? These escalations, right? I do this to you, you do this to me, I do this to you, do this to me, for hundreds of years back and forth, right? And we see this even in our own society. If you cut someone off in traffic, then they swerve and they're honking, and it's like, if you wrong somebody, they feel like they have the right to disrespect you, to hurt you, to punish you, right? And it's a crazy society that we've created, like the way that even our prison systems, right? The way that we punish people for doing something wrong. Prisons are not meant to rehabilitate people. They're actually slavery institutions, if you really want to get into it, but that's like a whole other conversation. But prisons don't rehabilitate people. This whole punishment, what are the effects of punishment? Do punishments work? In some way and in some degree they work, but what kind of punishment actually works? How does change really happen? So Nelson Mandela, right? Nelson Mandela, he was in South Africa. He suffered apartheid, right? His people were enslaved. They were pushed down. They were hurt. They were killed. They were beaten. They were tortured, right? That ended. Nelson Mandela rose up, and then he became, what would be, president or prime minister, whatever the word would be, terminology for them. And he at that moment had the chance to say, all of the people who enslaved and hurt my people, we're going to kill them. He could have said that. He could have said, we're going to throw them all in jail forever. He could have. He could have said that we're going to have them stand in a circle and we're going to throw rocks at them until they're dead, right? He could have taken out all of the pain and done the thing to them which was done to him. And you know what Nelson Mandela said, which is why he was the great man that he was? He said that if I do that, it is endless. If we now find this retribution and we now get revenge, if we now get revenge on these people, we're now creating more trauma, more toxicity, and then eventually they're going to want revenge on us again. And it's going to go and go and go and go and go and go. So Nelson Mandela created something called the Truth and Reconciliation Act, where you have to come forward in a court of your peers, packed courtrooms of people, and you have to confess what you did. And if you come forward and you explicitly talk about what you did, you are forgiven. And it was crazy. And you had these, guards who were like beating and killing people. They're now sitting in a courtroom filled with the sorts of people that they used to torment, just weeping like babies, recounting what they did, the horrors that they themselves committed. Because there's no such thing as a victimless crime. My dad was in the Vietnam War. I am a product of the trauma of war, unfortunately. You could be a good guy, you could be a bad guy, you could be righteous, you could be whatever. If you're hurting another human being, if you're killing people, if a part of your heart is feeling all that, and that doesn't leave you. Yeah, that doesn't leave you. So really understanding that we all are carrying our humanity. We are all carrying wounds. We are all carrying this pain. And if we hurt somebody, we are carrying that pain. And we are all carrying the pain from each other. And it just continues and continues until somebody says enough, until somebody owns their feelings, owns their nervous systems, and says, I do not want to perpetuate this anymore. Thich Nhat Hanh, who left Vietnam during the Vietnam War, set up organizations for peace, and all of his people were getting killed left and right. All his friends, the people that he was building this organization with, right? And he said, I cannot hate these people who are hurting my friends. I can't hate them. If I hated them, then I'm doing what they're doing. Then I'm in the same place they are. That it is my duty to find a way through past to transcend hatred, to not allow the cycle to continue. Hatred is my enemy, not that person. Intolerance is my enemy, not that person. Judgment is my enemy, not that person. Yeah, people are not our enemies. People are not our enemies, right? The qualities that they embody, the frequencies, the energies, the beliefs, the narratives, those are the things. People are just people. People are just these conditioned units that just hear things and they believe things and they think things and they feel, and they're just doing what they think is right. People are like Israel, Palestine, and I'm like, both of them, everybody thinks that they're doing what's right. Like, step back. Both sides feel like they're fighting for a just cause. Both sides feel victimized. And then people are like, yeah, but they did this and then they did it. It's like, yes, and that will go on forever. Because we're at the point where, yeah, everyone has now done the thing to the other person, and again and again and again and again, for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, right? Yes, and yes, you're all right. Now what? Yes, you're all victims, you're all aggressors, you've all hurt each other. Now what? Right? At what point do we break out of that and say, look, unless one side is going to completely kill and destroy the entire other side, or one side completely kills, and then even still more people, it's endless. It's not like that even will end it, right? Right? So someone said, is it possible to feel both sides? That is the only possibility. The only possibility as a mediator, right? Someone who brings peace, to be in the middle, in the median, is you have to feel both sides. You have to understand where everyone's coming from to the best of your ability, to listen, to understand, and to see what's going on, but also to realize, like, everybody is doing what they think is best, what they think is right. And each other side feels like it's the most horrible thing. And look, we see this in our families, we see this in our relationships, we see this in our own country, right? This isn't just like a thing that's happening over there. This is happening in our own minds, in our own hearts. So what does it mean to find peace? This is a really fucking important point and a really fucking important conversation, and we spin around in circles forever about this. And I see people protesting and getting in fucking fistfights in the street because it's side versus side. It's like a fucking sporting event. It's crazy, and I'm Jewish by birth. So it's not like I don't have any skin in the game. Like, I feel this in my, in my nervous system, in my genes. And also I am choosing not to play the game because I'm Jewish. Israel is right. Fuck that, or because I'm like woke and liberal, Palestine. No, everyone is fucking up in a different way. Right. And also everyone is so fucking right and so fucking valid and so fucking deserves to be loved and heard. Yeah. And this is the same with, when I do relationship counseling and marriage counseling and, different things like this. It's the same thing. It's like everyone fucking deserves, everyone's reality is really valid. So anyway, what do we want to do about that in ourselves, right? How do I want to relate to it? How do I not have, what I heard was like empath's fatigue, as it were? How do I not feel completely burnt out, completely destroyed by what's happening? How do I create peace? If the butterfly effect is real, if a butterfly flapping its wings spreads pollen from a flower and it makes a horse sneeze, and that horse sneezing causes a stampede, and that stampede adds wind to an already brewing storm, and that storm blows wind over here, and that wind blowing creates like a hurricane. If every little action can have bigger and bigger chain reaction results until it's like big things, how can I be a part of that? How can I create a little more peace? If you have a bowl of water, if you put a grain of salt in that water is 1 grain saltier. If you put a grain of sugar in that water is a little bit sweeter, right? If you put 10 grains in that water, if you tell everyone else, put 10 grains in, right? That water becomes that much sweeter. What we do matters. How we are matters. How we work matters. We have ripple effects. Right now I have like 20 people watching this live. Do I believe that that's like the extent of my reach? No, right? The extent of my reach is endless, right? It goes on in all directions, right? The extent of this energy is endless. This is a frequency that is flowing into all of you from people way greater than I, and it's going to continue in all directions, right? Someone's asking about my unplugged class tonight in LA. It was canceled. Yeah, they had a private event. So no unplugged class tonight. Instead, we are here. So yes, for those of you listening, what have you heard? What's come up for you? What are you hearing in this? What reflections are you having? Do you have any insights, any questions, or anything you agree with, anything you don't agree with? Right? So what is this bringing up for you guys? Tonglen. Yeah, so okay. Tonglen is something that's been coming up a lot. I've had multiple people today ask me about Tonglen. And I was listening to Thich Nhat Hanh yesterday who talks about mindful listening. So I'm going to talk about this thing called Tonglen. Tonglen is a Tibetan practice. It was passed down by the Nyingma tradition of Tibetans. Tonglen is a practice of utilizing the breath as a vessel of transformation. So one way that could look is if I feel fear, I breathe and I feel that fear, and I imagine that I breathe in that fear and I breathe out peace. And I breathe in the fear and I breathe out the peace. So this does two things. It probably does 100 things, but two things. One thing that this does is it starts breaking down our resistance to the thing we don't want. Instead of pushing away my fear, I'm bringing it in, right? And I'm giving it peace. So I'm giving it the thing that I want it to have instead. Usually I try to have peace and push away fear. Yeah, it doesn't really work so well. So instead I breathe in the fear and I give peace. As I start doing this, the fear actually starts shifting into a feeling of peace. That I start generating the energy that I want, and it becomes a new anchor that I can now self on. Right. So this is one way that Tonglen works. This is Tonglen for yourself. Right. Breathing into your heart the things you don't want, things you're resisting, things that are painful, and breathing out, giving the things that you do want. The second way of this is Tonglen interpersonally. That if there's somebody else in front of you, you breathe them in and you breathe out the solution, right? So if they're anxious, you breathe in the anxiety, you breathe out peace. Breathing in the stress, breathing out the relaxation. Breathing it in and breathing out. And, obviously, like, what comes to mind is like, but I don't want to take that on. I don't want to get their anxious. Like, it doesn't work that way. If you breathe in and breathe out peace, you become like a generator. You're like an air purifier, right? That you're just taking these things and you're creating and generating a field of peace around you. You're not going to become more and more stressed. You're actually starting to generate a field of a vibrational field of the energy that you want. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about mindful listening. Mindful listening is that you listen to somebody as you breathe and you let the feeling of compassion be the thing. So you breathe and you feel compassion for that person. And as you breathe and you feel compassion, it allows that thing to also transform for you, right? So mindful listening, someone will be talking. Usually when we're in a conversation, when someone's talking, and I work in outpatient, I work as like a therapist in certain respects too, right? Oftentimes when someone's talking, I notice that I'm now thinking of what I'm going to respond, or I'm thinking of like, oh, like, what are they doing, right? That our analytical mind wants to jump in there. Mindful listening means that somebody's talking, we just breathe and we send them love. We don't try to find any solutions. We don't try to think of what the next thing to say is. We actually just breathe and we just send them love and we just hold space. This is the definition of holding space. We just breathe and we send them love. It's actually Tonglen. So what Thich Nhat Hanh teaches, mindful listening, is very similar. That we're breathing it in and we're just sending them love. We're sending them peace. And then often they're going to start feeling better, even though nothing's changed. We haven't solved any problems. We haven't like figured it out. But just by conveying to them a feeling of peace and connection and feeling held and seen, like a little child who just wants to fucking feel held as they're crying and then they feel better. They don't need your solutions, right? How often do you see a little child crying and you're like, here, let me talk to you about, right? No, you just give the child a hug and you let their nervous system feel safe. And then most of the problems melt away anyway, right? So this is Tonglen interpersonally, right? Is that we breathe it in, we breathe in whatever's coming and we breathe out the solution. Breathing out peace, breathing out love, right? Breathing out relaxation, breathing out just a feeling of resolve, right? So the next level of this is that we can do Tonglen practice in a space with many people. You can actually go and you could sit in an airport, right? And you could just be breathing in stress and breathing out peace, breathing in worry, breathing out relaxation. That you can actually do this for many people at once. You can be, again, like an air purifier, that you are sitting here generating peace and relaxation, and you are just giving out this vibe, and you are generating a vibe, and it becomes so fucking peaceful, right? It is not what we think. It's not like if you breathe in their shit, now you're filled with shit, and like the filter of the air purifier gets clogged. No, it becomes like soil. Thich Nhat Hanh says lotuses only grow in the mud. You need the mud to grow the lotus, right? So we can actually utilize suffering. Suffering is an amazing usable nutrient. Suffering is a nutrient that we can grow uh, our blessings and gifts out of, right? That we can take suffering and we give it love, we give it appreciation, we give it gratitude, we connect to it, and it just starts to transform, and it becomes like, literally becomes like the mud that we're just sucking all the nutrients out of, and we're just able to give more love and more love, right? If you really love somebody and they're suffering, it just lets you love them more. You're just like, fuck, I'm here, like I'm here for you. Like it just suddenly it opens us up. So really utilizing suffering not as a thing that we need to push away, but actually as a thing to really utilize, to transmute, to transform, to allow the gifts of suffering. Thich Nhat Hanh also last night in the thing I listened to said, in heaven, there has to be suffering. He's like, I don't believe in the vision of heaven where everything's okay. He's like, that's bullshit. He's like, in heaven, there has to be suffering because that's the way that we grow. If you go to heaven, everyone's happy and everyone's floating around in clouds and in bliss. Where's the growth? I'm sure that'll be great for a while, but at what point do we're just kind of flatlined? It's just like, just sitting in bliss forever. Okay. Where's the growth and the evolution, right? So actually needing suffering. I mean, I see when we call on our angels and our archangels and we feel energies come through or presences come through, it's like, well, maybe when you're in like a heavenly realm, you are actually still connecting to the earth and you're actually still developing your love, but for the other people who are suffering, right? I don't know how that stuff works. Maybe. Anyway, I think we've reached that point in our conversation where we can do a little bit of a practice together. With the last remnants of my voice and energy, I invite you to close your eyes. To assume a relaxed position. Taking a deep breath. Just coming into your nervous system, into your body. Specifically, let's come into our heart. In the Tibetan texts, they say that in the coming ages, the practice of Tonglen will blaze like wildfires across the land. Let us begin by breathing in all of the parts of ourselves that we are struggling with, our fears, anxieties, overwhelms, hurt, sadness, rage. Imagining that as we're breathing that, it's getting sucked into the core of our heart. But imagine instead of a black hole, it's a light hole, that it's just filled with light. And we're just breathing it in. And as we exhale, you're breathing out peace, breathing out love, breathing out serenity and tranquility. Breathing in, pulling in whatever the most difficult and painful aspects and emotions that you have right now are. And as you breathe out, sending love, healing, soothing energy to yourself. Letting this feel good, allowing this to feel good. Breathing in, pulling in. Your troubles, your difficulties, your pains. Breathing out. Sending yourself love, peace, resolution, hope, whatever it is you need. Seeing if you're noticing a shift in your body at all, if this is starting to feel good. Just breathing in to the center of the heart, the anxiety, the pain, the fear, the hurt, the rage, the sadness. And then breathing out the love, the peace, the grounding, the calming, the solutions, the resolutions. Breathing out the peace that you need, that you love, that you deserve. Normally, I would stay with this practice, just this enough. Even just practicing this for years, just breathing into your own feelings, sending them love and peace and resolution is enough. But I invite you to imagine standing in front of you anybody who you have a conflict with, anybody who you felt hurt by, maybe a whole situation, maybe something that's current, recent, or active, alive within you. Moving through our resistance, we deserve resolve, we deserve peace, harmony, alignment in our system. Breathing their energy, breathing the situation, breathing the pain into your heart. Breathing out peace, resolution, forgiveness, love. You're doing this for yourself. You're not doing this for them, you're doing this for you. Breathing in all of our difficult feelings, our shame, our guilt, our resentment, our anger, our rage, our sadness, our hurt, betrayal. And breathing out whatever the solution is: peace, trust, love, understanding. Treating that person, that situation outside of us, same way we treated those parts of ourselves that were painful. Our goal here is to allow everything to belong, allow all charges to be released, allow everything to assimilate, resolve, dissolve back into wholeness, into oneness. The fuel of bliss is oneness. The fuel of anger is separation. Letting go of stories, letting go of right or wrong, good or bad, and allowing, giving ourselves the possibility, the opportunity to feel good. Breathing into your heart anything that you are trying to get rid of. And breathing out peace, connection, caring, love, understanding, healing, resolution. Creating this bond with your breathing, allowing your breath to be the generator. Receiving the nutrients, this mud, this energy, and sending out this endless supply of love, this endless supply of peace. Peace is a vibration, it is not a limited resource. Love is a vibration, it is not a limited resource. Bliss is a vibration, it is not a limited resource. Gratitude is a vibration, not a limited resource. Appreciation is a vibration, not a limited resource. Anger needs fuel, it is a limited resource. Pain needs fuel, it is a limited resource. Sadness needs fuel, it is a limited resource. Frustration needs fuel, it is a limited resource. Breathing into our hearts that which we wish to transform and breathing out the solution. Eventually, you might even start to feel like you're floating, marinating in lightness and peace and relaxation. You're creating a field of energy. Breathing, softening. Allowing yourself to melt, to dissolve, to become the vibrations of relaxation, of love, of gentleness, of understanding. And just feeling that in the space around us as we're breathing in the space around us into our heart, breathing out into the space around us. This love, this peace. Hmm. Allow yourself to gently smile, connecting to the energy of the smile. Can you relax everything but the smile? Like the Cheshire cat, can you allow everything to dissolve except the smile? Hmm. Taking a few deep breaths. Taking the last few seconds to completely let go, completely rest. What if there's nothing else to do? Taking a few deep breaths in through the nose, down to the body. Big, full breaths. When you're ready, from this place of exquisite peace, we allow ourselves to return. Feel free free to stretch out, pull your fingers and toes, stretch out a little bit. Coming back, let me know how that was for all of you, how you're feeling, what came up for you, what you learned, what tools you'll use in the future. Hope that this was helpful and informative. Really appreciate you all spending your time here with me, connecting to this energy, for being nodes that are helping to send this vibration out into the world. You are all valuable, necessary, worthy, powerful people. I appreciate you joining me for this Wednesday night version of Tuesday Night Live. Next week, next Tuesday, I'm actually also not going to be able to do this on Tuesday, so this may be a Monday night live or a Thursday night live next week. Stay tuned. Bigfoot lives, baby. All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate you. Let me know if you have any thoughts, any shares. Feel free to send me a message directly. I also work with people one-on-one. I have a couple really powerful, beautiful containers to create some deep life shifts. So if you're feeling like you want to go deeper on this journey with me, just reach out. I'll let you know how that looks. And otherwise, just thank you all so much for being here. There's a lot of things you could be doing with your life, with your time. And I'm really grateful that you are choosing to spend with me. Thank you. Aho. Tuesday Night Live on Wednesday.